Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody. Allow me here to introduce myself. My name is Rusman Frenika, and my partner in research, Mrs. Pupung Purnamasari and Mr. Haris Nukman. Our research and the title, the relationship between the component of e-government services towards corruption in Malaysia and Indonesia. As we know that information and communication technology development requires the government to provide public services in the form of e-government. The principles of e-government are very important in designing an effective anti-fraud system as guiding line for realizing human rights and creating an anti-corruption strategy. Therefore, it is timely and relevant to study in Malaysia and Indonesia, as both are Asian countries with a majority of Muslim people, and they do embrace similar culture and beliefs. Thus, this study examines the relationship between the component of e-government towards corruption in Malaysia and Indonesia. The problem of this research show that weak internal and external monitoring system in both countries. The prevention of corruption has not been maximized from narrowly, and poor cooperation between the governments and stakeholders. The method we use in this research is survey method and causal associative type and quantitative research method. So the sample we took from two countries, Indonesia and Malaysia, with 128 countries, and then the total of population in this research is 240. We used the questionnaire and sampling quotes, and to analyze this research we use Mann-Whitney U and with margin error 5%. The result of this research show for the respondent that male and female are same for 50%, and for the age, the higher is 27.5% for between 46 and 55, and education, the higher result is undergraduate 42.50%. And the last one, using computer, this high number is 6 hours in a day, about 47.5%. And we know that the result of the statistical calculation between Indonesia and Malaysia and government towards corruption are that asymptote is very significant 0.0 less than 0.5. And based on the table 7, the relationship between G2C and corruption in Indonesia and Malaysia, this is evident by the value of asymptote significant 0.0 less than 0.5. And the effect of G2G on corruption, that's based on this analysis, there is a differences between Indonesia and Malaysia findings, because G2G has no significant effect and corruption in Indonesia, but in Malaysia G2G has strong influence on corruption. And about the effect of G2B on corruption, it is so there is a difference between Indonesia and Malaysia. That G2B has no effect on corruption in Malaysia, but in Indonesia G2B has an influence of corruption. Why? Because in Malaysia the e-government has been able to minimize business people from involved in corruption, but for Indonesia, setting a government still called not curtailed business people to involve with corruption. And the effect of G2C on corruption, that the influence of G2C on corruption are positive and significant, and there is no difference between Indonesia and Malaysia. It means that the effect of G2G on corruption in Indonesia and Malaysia is the same. This the role of the community in guarding and supervising the running of the government is very important, especially when the government size, example, government expenditure and output of economy is large. This is the figure about G2B and G2C on corruption in Indonesia model, and G2G and G2C on corruption in model of Malaysia. The conclusion of this research, there is a difference between Indonesia and Malaysia. Finding in Malaysia reveal that G2G and G2C are significant with corruption, but not significant with G2B. Whilst from Indonesia, that G2B and G2C are significant in finding, but no effect with G2G. Just to curb this problem, e-government is one of the important factors in reducing corruption. Government and staff need to be able to distinguish between right and wrong, lawful and unlawful for both countries. In terms of the limitation of the study, the model is limited in testing the studied variable. Future study may include more comprehensive variables such as religiosity and socio-economic status in the proposed model. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.